Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Last Word Sports. I'm your host today, Fletcher, and today I'm bringing you a little bit of a different video. It's going to be our very first golf-related video. I'm going to be giving you my top 10 current golfers in the entire world right now. So, coming in at number 10, we're going to jump right in. It's the current reigning Masters champion, Tiger Woods. Now, the reason I have him down at number 10 instead of being in the top 5 is while he is still one of the world's elite golfers, and like I said, the reigning Masters championship or champion, and he won the Zozo championship, he's just he's got some inconsistencies in there, like he'll finish outside even the top 50 at times, which is normal for golfers. That's completely normal. But he'll miss a cut or he'll withdraw every once in a while, and while he does finish top 10 quite often, he's inconsistent and he has had to withdraw in a tournament as recently as the Northern Trust, which does make me skeptical about putting him higher than maybe number 10 or so. So coming in at number 9, we have someone who's been around the tour for what feels like a really long time, and he's just someone who's never been able to capture too much glory, but he's a very consistent, very good golfer, and that is Webb Simpson. All the time, I see Webb Simpson finishing top 10 or like right in the conversation for winning, and he did actually win just as recently as the Management Phoenix Open, but he doesn't have enough wins on the board or top tier performances. Like he does have those little bits of inconsistency, and he's not really renowned for one thing. Like you don't really know him as like one of the premier drivers or one of the best iron players on tour, or one of the best putters. He is just solid at everything, which makes him good enough to be a top 10 golfer in the world. He is like equally good at driving, chipping, his long to intermediate irons and his putting, it's all just around the same, which is very difficult for a lot of golfers to accomplish, to be able to be solid at every little thing. But that's all he is. He's solid at everything. He's not astounding on one thing. So, anyways, moving on to number 8, we have someone who I personally love, who is my favorite golfer, and that is Tommy Fleetwood. And while, yes, I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, for because he has not won a single PGA Tour event. However, he has several European Tour events. He's always finishing top 10, and he is without a doubt in the conversation for having the best irons in golf, being the best iron player in golf. He has one of the best swings in golf, top 3 in my opinion, and it's absolutely beautiful. His worst finish in the last 6 tournaments he's played, other than the Arnold Palmer, which is sort of but his worst performance out of the last 6, other than the Arnold Palmer, was tied for 18th at WGC Mexico, which is amazing. That is including European Tour tournaments. However, it doesn't matter. He got third at the Honda Classic in a sort of a weird tournament where oh man, I forget his name, but a sort of up and coming player won the tournament, and Tommy sort of choked at the last minute. But I don't know. I really like Tommy. If there was one little knock I were to put on Tommy, he's incredibly accurate with the driver. He's incredibly accurate and long with his irons. It's his putting and the inconsistencies on and around the green. While he has made some amazing chip-ins from like bunkers or just around the green or whatever, his putting is just the consistency is not there, and it's caused him to lose a couple of tournaments where he was in prime position to win. He almost won the Open last year. Like he was what, second? He was second at the Open Championship. And he almost won the Honda Classic. He's won all these European Tour events. He's still young for a golfer, and I think a PGA Tour win and a big one at that is on the cards for Tommy in the near future. So now, moving on, I am going to be putting Patrick Reed at number 7, just right above Tommy. It's so hard for me to pick between Patrick Reed and Tommy, but I just decided to let my personal bias go and put Reed above Tommy Fleetwood. He won he won Mexico, he won WGC Mexico. He's quite often well, actually, no, not really quite often, but he's more of a boomer bust golfer. You never quite know what you are going to get from Patrick Reed on any given weekend. He will miss the cut, or he'll finish top 5. He'll go tied for 51st one week, and the next week he'll win a huge tournament in the WGC Mexico Championship. So for me, Patrick Reed, he's an amazing golfer. I love watching him, and he's awesome. He's it's just ever so slightly he's better than Tommy because he has shown the ability to make it out of tournaments with a win. And I'm talking about this within the past year or so. He's shown the ability to close out a tournament, to make it out of there with a win, and you know, he's shown that he is still a formidable golfer even after what a lot of people would say was his fall off. And so, anyways, moving on, number 6. This is the guy like right below the S tier golfers for me. He's like A plus plus tier. He's just not quite S tier golf, and that is Adam Scott. He's such a good golfer. He's super good. He's he's got an incredible swing that can't go unnoticed. He won the Genesis, which was a recent tournament, and he won a European Tour event right before that, the Australian PGA Championship. However, it was mostly with Australians and some lesser Englishmen and people like that. But uh, he wins tournaments pretty frequently, in terms of golf, anyways, and he's always hovering around the top 10. However, he does have bad times when he'll miss a cut or be tied for like 60th or something like that, like tied for 61st or anything along those lines. However, overall, his consistency and how he plays and how he performs at bigger tournaments outweighs any of the negatives, and he's a really great golfer. So I have him just outside my top 5, right there, slotted in at number 6. So now number 5, we have honestly, one of my least favorite golfers, but you can't deny that he is a force to be reckoned with on the golf course, and that is Dustin Johnson. Now, when you talk about Dustin Johnson, the first thing that comes up has to be how far he can hit the ball, how far he can drive it, and just how immense of a figure he is. The way he is built, he was built to just whack the ball so far. He was built to send it flying. And if you match that speed with accuracy and precision and good putting, then you have yourselves an S tier golfer. And while his recent results haven't been the best, you still see him in the top 10 quite often. He's not necessarily always getting top 3 like you're used to seeing him, but you're seeing him hanging out at tied for 10th, tied for 7th, and he never falls below the top 50, it feels like. A lot of golfers are falling below top 50, but out of his last, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tournaments, he's only fallen below 50 once, which is incredible in terms of golf and being a consistent golfer. He's always making the cut, and that is something you have to do if you want to be considered one of the best golfers on earth. So now, moving forward at number 4, I have Brooks Koepka. Hold on, let me just make sure I spell his name right here. I always seem to mess it up. But Brooks Koepka, he he's another guy who just he can hammer it such a long ways. Just his performance, and he's an amazing golfer. Don't get me wrong. He's got major titles under his belt for a reason because he's such an amazing golfer. It's just his performance as of recently. If we look at his past, how many tournaments? One, two, three, four, five, six, 7 tournaments. He hasn't made the top 10 once. In fact, he has either withdrawn or missed the cut 3 out of those 7 tournaments. And so while normally I would have him at number 2 or 3, I had to give him a little hit and put him at number 4 because of his recent performances being a little off from the normal Brooks Koepka standard that we are all accustomed to or have been accustomed to for the past few years. So now moving in at number 3, we have uh we have the Spaniard Jon Rahm. Let me just make sure I spell his name correctly too. But yes, we have the Spaniard Jon Rahm. He's an absolutely amazing golfer, one of the most consistent golfers in the world. I don't remember the last time I watched a tournament in which he missed the cut on the PGA Tour. It feels like it has been years. And that's just to me. I'm sure he's done it within the past couple of years, but I feel like I never see him, especially at the biggest tournaments, miss the cut. And he has put a couple of wins under his belt in the European Tour quite recently. He just hasn't been able to eke out a PGA Tour win in a little while, which is why he isn't number 2 or number 1 on the list because the guys I have ahead of him have been able to win and are just as consistently making the cuts and being in the top 10 as Jon Rahm. So now, moving in at number 2, I have Justin Thomas. He was recently world number 1 after winning. Gosh, what's the name of the tournament? Give me a second. Let me think of it. He won the Century Tournament recently. He won the Nine Bridges, the CJ Cup. He won the BMW Championship, which was last season, the end of last season. But overall, he's just able to win on the PGA Tour, like consistently. And that is something you can't say about a lot of people. And he has, in my opinion, probably the best swing in golf. I know I was saying Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, that I know I was saying their swings are fantastic. However, I don't think anyone's swings just looks as fundamentally sound and as perfect as Justin Thomas does. And he is what feels like always making into the top 10. He has missed a couple of cuts recently, but outside of those, he's always making the top 10. And he's won 3 PGA Tour events in the past, like recent terms. He has won 3 PGA Tour tournaments quite close together, which is something that Jon Rahm wasn't able to do, Brooks Koepka wasn't able to do, all the guys below him on this list weren't able to do. And so I think when it comes to talking about current form, and if Justin Thomas shows up on his best, I think he can beat anyone on earth. And quite frankly, I think you put Justin Thomas at his best versus pretty much anyone at their best. I think Justin Thomas's win. I think his peak is higher than anybody else's peak. And yes, that includes my number 1, which may shock a couple people that I think Justin Thomas's peak could, beat this man's peak. But number 1 is Rory McIlroy. Rory is just the complete golfer. I know he gets, uh, hold on. I know he gets made fun of, and he's been called out on multiple occasions for not being the best putter or choking on his putts, yada yada yada, this, that, and the other. However, his putting is still good, and when you combine that with the best driver play on tour, and arguably, between him, Tommy Fleetwood, and maybe Justin Thomas for the best iron player on tour. You know, the short game being average, or well, it's still above average. The short game just being above average isn't as bad considering that he is the best driver of the ball on tour and in the argument for best iron player on tour. He's won as recently as the HSBC Championship. He is always in the top 10, always in the conversation for the for the most consistent golfer on earth, and he's the reigning tour champion. He won the tour championship, in many people's eyes, the most important tournament of the year, of the golf season. And so far, this year on the PGA Tour, he has not missed being in the top 10. Not once, let alone miss a cut like the people below him have. He's an outstanding golfer, and his swing, while it's not as technically sound as maybe a Justin Thomas, it's more entertaining to watch. It is so athletic, and he is so strong and powerful. The way that he is able to use every single pound of his smaller frame than the other golfers like Brooks and Dustin, it's just such a joy to watch. And if you are any fan of a golf as much as, oh, wow, English. If you are a fan of golf anywhere near as much as I am, watching Rory McIlroy pound a drive 330 yards might just be the most entertaining thing to watch in the entire sport. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what your top 10 is, tell me if you think I'm stupid for having anybody on this list. This has been Fletcher Ferris with The Last Word Sports. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whatever time of the day it is for you. Bye.